Is Gen Z commitment-phobic, or are they smart? People today give Gen Z a lot of bad attitude for their plunging marriage rates, their chaotic dating pool where 98% of their relationships break up, and young men checking out completely from romantic bonding in what some people have called the sexodus. But mating is a biological drive that's built into the animal part of our brain. So we need to ask ourselves, if relationship and marriage might be dying in Gen Z, what's killing that drive to bond? I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. I've been studying relationships and psychology for well over 15 years, and I work extensively with young people who are building relationships today or who are struggling to build relationships today. I'm going to show you the harsh truth about what is happening in Gen Z today, as well as what I believe must be done to help young people find romantic fulfillment, if that's what they're looking for. This is not going to be a video where a old millennial preaches down to Gen Z. Guys, I know you're out there. Welcome, Gen Z. Glad that you are here. You are one of the most educated groups in America because you are educating yourself through one of the biggest universities in history, YouTube. So I'm glad that you're here. This is not going to be me waxing poetic or blaming you for everything. I'm going to try my best to present options that will be actually helpful to you, because that's what Gen Z needs. They need better options, not to be yelled at about what to do. Okay? By the end of this video, you will have those options and we will understand exactly how to move forward. Let's go. So let's get a picture of the situation on the ground for Gen Z. Okay, it's not pretty. Pew Research suggests that at least 51% of Gen Z men and perhaps up to 64% of Gen Z men are single. The research also says that only about 32% of Gen Z women are single. Now that math doesn't add up, does it? What's happening? Well, there's a couple of situations that are happening. Okay, number one, sometimes, is that multiple women are dating the same man, or they are dating older men. Those are usually the two situations. We could call this the polygamy and poaching gap, okay? As the so-called Gen Z chads and other generations scoop up as many Gen Z women as they possibly can, leaving Gen Z men chronically single. Now, a lot of women who are in Gen Z, I will say this, the research shows that Gen Z is one of the most practical-minded of all the generations so far. They are survival-minded. They are hardcore resource and staying alive and pragmatic focused. So a lot of women are opting to date older men for the practicality, the stability, the maturity, the safety of it. Okay, they are not being gold diggers. They are actually trying to build some stability into their life and then giving faithful, diligent love to their partner in return. They are aware of that trade and they're happily making it. That's happening in many cases. There's also plenty of cases where older guys are poaching insecure younger women and are preying upon them in bad ways. That is also happening. Okay. There are plenty of situations where women are exploring multiple relationship options where they're all dating the same guy. Okay. And there's also plenty of situations where older guys or Gen Z chads are secretly dating multiple women. And all these women think that they are the one guy. That guy's one girl. Okay. There's a lot of things happening here. Good, bad, ethical, unethical, open, secret. Lots of things are happening. Okay, it is not a bunch of helpless, brain dead, vapid Gen Z girls just, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. No, many of them are making, frankly, sometimes smart, educated decisions about who they're going to date. This leaves Gen Z men left to date, well, no one. They have nobody younger that they could possibly date. There are no younger generations coming along legally into the dating pool. So there is nobody out there for them. I will ask, what's going to happen when the next generation does come along? Will we see the same effect play out there? Or are these single Gen Z men going to stay single for life? A lot of them are asking that question right now. YouTuber Gerbert Johnson has often joked that his generation of men, the 20-somethings, should be dating older women aged 65 up to 80, since those women outnumber the men in their generation, and his generation is outnumbering the women. So obviously, this is not a real approach that most young men are likely to embrace, but the dark humor that Gerbert is showing here shows that the serious problem these men are facing is very real. Okay? So question for you. If Gen Z guys and Gen Z people are making it work, why don't they believe in marriage? Even if they do couple up successfully, a lot of Gen Z folks are not as likely to marry as any older generation. They're actually less likely to marry than previous generations at all. Part of that is because most of them have never seen a functioning and happy marriage in their life. So they have zero reference to believe marriage is actually good. A lot of Gen Z people come to me, men and women, and say, what is the point of marriage? It's miserable. You form a temporary commitment based on feelings that nobody is going to be able to hold on to. And then you, what? Lose happiness forever until you hate each other and break up? That's their vision of marriage, you guys. That's all that they've seen. It's not that Gen Z is foolish or stupid. That's all they've ever seen. They've never seen a functioning marriage before. And if they have, it's some like crusty 90-year-old people who grew up in a different world, and they say that is impossible. Look how sweet that is, but that's not possible. Don't sell me a fairy tale, is what many of them would say. Okay? This is one reason they're not getting married. Another reason is that many of them are used to single parents or multiple households that are raising children and broken attachment. So they don't know the benefits that children can receive from a stable, happy marriage either. Did you know that the best mental health outcomes for kids come from married parents? The best life outcomes, the best financial outcomes, the best marital outcomes, again, mental health, anxiety, depression outcomes, all of that comes from a married household for children. It is best for children. A married, monogamous household is the best thing a child could possibly have growing up. In addition, many in Gen Z are used to very hedonistic behaviors to cope with incredible, unprecedented life stress. So things like situationships, porn addiction, substance dependence, even outright despair is leading many of them to either isolate from other people or to collapse into total escapism. And then they imagine trying to be in a marriage with somebody else who's collapsing into total escapism. Or they imagine trying to be faithful to a partner and they say, I'm not going to do that to somebody. So they're just collapsing into it and pulling away. They're not even going on dates, many of them anymore. Marriage is increasingly a liability in many areas with outdated local laws that appear to reward harmful women who prey upon men, while in other places the legal protections for women and children are almost zero. This leaves bad actors on both sides to prey upon everyone that they can, leaving deep scars in Gen Z today, guys. Marriage laws, especially child custody laws, and all kinds of precedents that are set right now are disastrous. There's many people saying, why would I get married to somebody who's going to destroy me? Part of the problem is that they believe their partner is going to destroy them, and they don't know how to filter properly for someone they can trust. And the other half is they feel like they have a loaded gun to their head through the court systems. A lot of people, for example, when I say we should have a prenup should be mandatory. People say, no, that robs the joy and the romance out of it. Well, think about this. The state already has a standard prenup on file that you're going to follow, whether you like it or not. So you better define one that makes sense for the two of you. Otherwise, you're going to be left with that one. And avoiding that conversation and saying it all has to be romantic and feelings, it's a pretty big sign that you're probably going to need a prenup down the road. Okay. The couples who make those conversations work are the couples who stay together. Even worse, guys. It's not just that Gen Z's like, wow, this is kind of stupid. I haven't really seen good stuff. Many of them have grown up with stories of parents who were gutted by a bad marriage and stern warnings to never trust anyone for any reason. Ladies out there, Gen Z ladies, I know you're watching. Hello. Could you please drop it in the comments? Let me know. Did the women in your family scare you to death about trusting men? Don't ever trust men. Get a career. Be at least 35 before you get married. Anything under 35, you have wasted your life on some man who's going to ruin you anyway. Don't have kids till you're 35. They'll ruin your life too. Make sure you never trust a man. Everyone is out here trying to destroy you. Men will ruin you. Ladies, did you hear this growing up? Because about 4 generations of women now have passed that down, woman to woman to woman, that men are horrific monsters who will ruin your life, that all men are sociopaths. Please drop it in the comments. Let me know if that was your experience. If it wasn't, I'd also love to hear that. Speaking of broken generational patterns, you guys, you're on the Attachment Specialist channel. You know this is coming. Gen Z has about a 65% rate of insecure attachment. Okay? 2/3 of them can't form proper long-term bonds that create sustainable relationships at all. Okay? That is an indication of a society in collapse, by the way. If 2/3 of them are in a constant perpetual survival adaptation where proper relationship bonding is turned off so that they can have survival-based bonding, 2/3, that's a society in collapse. This gives rise to what I have often said is that Gen Z is being raised in the rubble of a society, in the rubble of a collapse that has already happened. They are picking through the ruins like orphans after a war, trying to survive in the streets. This is Gen Z today. They grew up in rubble. Gen Z out there, if your mind is being blown, I hear that a lot. But look, you were raised in rubble. That's why you are the way that you are. You are not bad. You are practical and survival-based. Makes sense. Now, those who remain, okay, the 35% of people in Gen Z who have secure attachment, they often fail to grow the necessary skills to court a potential long-term mate or even understand their own desire or bodily functions. There's so many Gen Z women out there who have no idea how their personal bedroom drive works or when they become aroused or how or why or how that's supposed to work. They have no idea. Or how relationships are formed at all. Many of them have no clue because those skills and lessons and wisdom and teachings have been lost in intergenerational warfare. Frankly, the generations hate each other. Nobody's doing anything. I saw a great meme not that long ago of millennials and boomers screaming at each other. And then there's Gen Z and Gen X pouring a glass of wine into a millennial or a Gen Z's cup. Like, here, have some wine, kids. We're going to be settled in for a long time watching them hate each other to death. And that's where we're at, you guys. So Gen Z, heart goes out to you guys. Let's talk about what to do about this, okay? Because the question is this: is it really this bad? Is there really no hope? Is it really true that even if they do ignore generational warnings against marriage, even if they blindfold themselves against legal liabilities, even if they somehow manage to find a partner who's their own age, who's ready to marry, and they may not be equipped to build relationships, is it really true that all those odds are against them and it's hopeless? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I recently hosted Kenzie Carter on my podcast. The podcast is called I Wish You Knew. I don't know how many of you out there know I have a podcast, the I Wish You Knew podcast. Check it out here on YouTube. Check it out on every platform. I have it on there. But most of you know about, and I hope you do, it's linked down in the description. Kenzie is a Generation Z woman. Young. She's very, very young 20s. For me, who's almost 40, I look at her and she looks like she's probably in middle school. But I think she's older than that. I think she's very early 20s, Gen Z. Very, very intelligent young woman. It was fantastic talking with her. On our episode together, she talked about her experience being a young Gen Z woman who actually has found a loving male partner who is her own age and built a fulfilling relationship. She's also built a phenomenal brand for herself. She's embraced the digital age. She is thriving. In the rubble, she has built herself a strong house. Okay? That's what Gen Z is going to need to do. This was a fantastic conversation. I learned a great deal from Kenzie, but she also talked about growing up in a collapsed society where nothing is certain. Everybody is afraid. Hope is very slim for a better life for many. However, she maintained a hopeful outlook that future generations might be able to turn things around, especially her once world-weary young generation, as they rise into greater positions of power someday, as they begin bringing more practical mindsets to bear on the problems that previous generations either created or made so much worse. Did you know there is phenomenal wealth being generated with Gen Z right now through digital worlds, through digital realms, digital businesses? Phenomenal wealth growth happening among Gen Z. Even, yes, with this terrible economy we're in. Overwhelming amounts of financial freedom happening for Gen Z right now who step forward and seize it. Tremendous. Can you imagine what's going to happen with that practical digital group steps forward and says, everybody get out of our way. It's time to fix the crap that all of you have been arguing about. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Now, what's my take as the attachment specialist here, you guys? I think back to the sociologists who've studied the mothers of Sierra Leone. It's in West Africa, for those of you who might not be familiar. They have a very unique experience of mothering there. Okay. Their nation has one of the highest infant mortality rates of any nation in the world. And the moms there usually do not bond emotionally with their children for the first year as a defense mechanism because they lose so many babies back to back to back. They have a callous, basically based on trauma. I will preserve my older children. I won't emotionally bond with you until I see that you're going to live past that first year. Okay. After that first year, many of them do bond and they do form families. They're not bad moms. It's that trauma response. The women there have adapted to a harsh reality in order to survive and help the remaining children who do make it get the best of their care. Humans are enormously resilient, and I see many of those same patterns right there today in the Gen Z people that I talk to, like Kenzie, and in many of those Gen Z members of my Attachment Circle mentorship community. Many young Gen Z people come into my mentorship program, work with me in those group calls, and it is amazing to hear the pragmatic advice that they want and the questions they ask. They're like, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this. Cool, what does that mean? Excellent. I will go implement that myself. Very, very self-driven. It's wonderful. So I will say this, Gen Z does not lack a desire for romantic love or marriage or bonding. Young Gen Z men are not single because they say, nope, no interest. That's not happening. But they don't see the practicality or the opportunity for it. So they're holding back, or they feel shut out because the other people in their generation don't see that practicality. They're all in survival. Older generations look back at them and say, oh, you're commitment phobic. Oh, you're hedonistic. Oh, you're foolish. You just have no idea what you're doing. But Gen Z are being exceedingly pragmatic in their approach. Yes, I will say some of them are wild and chaotic, and they get a lot of airtime. They get a lot of viral videos. I get that, you guys. And those people are in every generation. But most Gen Z are very quiet. They're biding their time. They're trying to see what opportunities spring next from the social rubble that they grew up in. They're asking hard questions. They're learning hard truths about relationships. Many of you here on this channel, like I said, are Gen Z. Pop in the comments, let me know. Say, hey, what's up? I'd love to talk to you. But guys, I would love for you. I would love for you to start this conversation, because the older generations need to see that you are here asking questions. The older generations right now have this idea that because Gen Z is so silent, because they're quiet, and because they're just having fun on social media, that they're stupid or they're foolish or they don't care. And none of that is true. I believe, as the attachment specialist, from all the research I've done on all the societies around the earth and everything that I'm seeing with Gen Z under the surface, I believe that when their day comes, Gen Z will bring about a renaissance, actually, in marriage and romance, but in their own way, with their own versions, and a more practical way than the last 4 generations have done. I don't think Gen Z is going to marry for love. I think Gen Z is going to marry for stability, for family, for structure, and I think they're going to recalibrate laws and everything around marriage to make it make sense to them so that we don't have this collapse happen again. Okay? Come on, Gen Z. Prove me right. I do believe in you. Final words here. Humans are made to endure. They're made to thrive, even after terrible social collapse, okay? I believe the rise of massive attachment issues, 65% in Gen Z now, indicates a social collapse that has already happened, and Gen Z have been raised in the rubble. I also believe they're going to build better things in the future, as their extremely practical natures lead them to question the purpose of older ideas that most of us have discarded as useless. We see a lot of Gen Z bringing back old ideas and making them fresh and making them better. I think that's going to continue. This is why I believe that there are going to be generations who will rescue marriage, but in a new form. I don't also believe that those 64% of men who are single are destined to die alone. I think they're going to find partners either in their own generation or in the next generation as they're growing up, or they're going to cluster into pseudo-family units and live their lives with new family structures so that they're never alone. I think Gen Z is going to go back, build old structures into new structures, and they're going to take care of each other. That's what I believe. I can't wait to see what Gen Z does. So for more about Gen Z and relationship patterns, please make sure you check out my episode with Kenzie on the I Wish You Knew podcast. I'm going to link it down in the description below, and I'll see you there.